Greetings. Welcome to episode 381 of Geeks in Space. I'm Rob Commander Taco Malda, and with me today I have two of the finest human beings you'll ever meet. Gentlemen?
My name is Chris, business person.
Hello, Chris, business person.
Business person.
I'm Rob Roseboom.
I don't know that I've ever seen you in suspenders, Chris.
I didn't want to wear the whole suit, so I figured I'd just do the whole, tie. I love this tie. It's a beautiful tie, so.
It's very paisley.
Yes.
When I was a kid, one of my very first jobs was carrying out groceries, and the dress code was tie required. So 15-year-old me thought the only thing to do was to go and find the box of ties that my father owned from the 70s. And I wore all of those ties, one of which looked essentially exactly like the tie you're wearing, except for maybe like 2 inches wider at the base.
Oh, yeah, they were wider back then. Yeah.
It was pretty sweet. I used to get many compliments for my stupid ties. Hey, Nate.
Hello.
We have a Nate. Introduce yourself.
I'm Nate, and I'm late. And
no, not really.
How was your
You look totally spiff, Chris DeBona.
I know.
Oh, you mean Chris Business? Yeah.
Chris Business.
Yeah.
How was your spacewalk, Nate?
Nothing like getting out and doing some laps around the space station. Watching the orbital debris.
Darn Kessler syndrome.
Yep.
Dodging the fragments of various Chinese and Indian satellites.
Keeping an eye out for UFOs.
And I'm very modest, so I only pee and poop in my diaper. I don't like doing it, in the confines of the space station.
The glamour of space.
We appreciate that. Having shared a home with you for many years over my life. That's a lie. I can't smell.
Yeah, you're actually kind of the perfect roommate for
I know.
Toys.
Except for being a disgusting, slovenly pig.
You can absolutely smell, Rob. Trust me.
Thanks. You're just like my child.
That's really funny.
So I have a slim list of topics for today, but I did think that we should have a really serious discussion ahead of tomorrow's official non-canceled raid on Area 51. We should really make some plans, like who's coming from the south, who's coming. Like, I'm not sure that I can aim the parachute on my capsule that accurately.
I'm afraid I'm trapped in orbit above Europe tomorrow. So, I'll watch you all from space.
Somebody live streaming on Reddit.
I don't expect there to be 1 million people, but it would do my heart good to see a couple thousand show up yet.
Yeah.
I know, it's kind of like Burning Man, right? Do they just stick around and then do the raid? Like BlackRock to Area 51. It's very close.
Are you really not going to go and expose the government cover-up of aliens just because the guy who started it says he's not going? Come on.
I'm going to use a telepresence robot, so I just hope there's no steps that I have to get over.
Oh man, I once saw Snowden speak via one of those things, so I call them all Snowden Bots. It's like the old picture of Snowden, rolling around.
I'm an iPad on a Roomba.
I can't believe I am being thwarted by steps.
Why did you curse me as a robot? Why, Dad? I would actually really like to see a raid on Area 51 with nothing but Snowden bots.
Can you imagine?
I mean, I got to go on a limb and say that Area 51 would win.
Well, sure. Imagine how many would just get stuck in sand.
Mm-hmm.
You just would put them over.
We defeated them with advanced Brussels thistleweed brush technology.
Hey, wait a second. The thing about those weeds, they have those little seeds that are they're like grappling hooks. Like we had to get one removed from my cat's eye once, So they're serious things. It's really hard on cats, man. This is why sandcats are very savvy.
Maybe we should train the sandcats to raid Area 51.
I think they have no problem getting in. I think that the sandcats are just welcome because they're so cute, and like aliens love cute cats, right?
Snowden
aliens love cougars.
Snowden Bot 2.0 is going to have some biomimicry for sandcats.
That's right.
It also seems like if we're going to build this thing, we probably should at least give it some sort of like drone floaty technology, because it does seem like putting it on wheels is a pretty foolish thing if your plan is raiding high-end government installations.
A quadcopter model would be great, but then like for 8.5 minutes, you'd be fantastic.
Yeah, and I don't know how familiar you are with sand cats, but I've never seen a floating one. So
that's because you haven't tried. You have to want it more. No, so as far as drone goes, I don't think y'all talked about this last show. But the drone attack on the Saudi Aramco installation.
Oh yeah,
that is nerd news, and let me explain why. I bet you some of the Ardu pilot code is in those drones because I know they're in the Qassam 4 missiles. So free software is in so much weaponry at this point.
Thanks, RMS.
Well,
maybe that's the real reason he's stepping down.
For a lot of weapons. Y'all talked briefly about RMS, and I think if I were to quote you, it was, "I don't want to talk about RMS," and that was it.
He's gross and weird.
It's yeah. I mean,
I read a really good summary of that whole thing, which is you can basically ignore the entire exchange that he had in the last week about whatever the Minsky and Epstein thing. And if you just criticized him for being gross and weird for the last 25 years, I mean, we all have been in situations where he has made it worse. And that's a bad advocacy.
I didn't know about his whole, defending pedophilia thing until well after we stopped funding him. Like, what broke the camel's back for us was when he went off about disabled kids being no better than pets. And I'm like, are you effing... I mean, he'd always been a pain in the butt, but, who cared, right? I don't care if he gives Google crap or whatever. It's like, we felt like we sort of, owed the Free Software Foundation, a solid, right? But then he started going off like this, and I'm like, you know what? I just can't do it anymore. Ain't worth it. And so this was about like 5 years ago, And then, all the stuff came out about, he was like defending the defense distributed guy who was arrested in Taiwan for pedophilia. And he was like, I think that this is thought crime. And I'm like, well, I'm so glad I stopped funding this guy. But yeah, I was like, geez, man. So he's going to take the whole world man with him,
We gave him money too, Nate.
Yep, I remember.
Yeah, it's like the 5 stages of grief. It's the 5 stages of Richard Stallman rejection. It's like the first is who, and then it's like, oh wow, he did a lot of cool stuff. Then you meet him and you're like, and then it's like, it's Stallman. And then the 5th is no, really,
yeah.
So
he's gross, weird, and difficult, and that is a pretty terrible thing to be if you are trying to be an advocate for something that may or may okay. So the Free Software Foundation, the stuff that they're doing matters on some level. Well, okay, so I like having the extreme viewpoints on every end, just because if you have the extreme ends showing you where the edges of the debate are, then you can maybe find where a more moderate line is for yourself personally. I don't fall in the FSF camp in terms of like, I'm not going to complain about loading a web page because it requires me to load a plugin that contains closed software. Like
unfree JavaScript.
Yeah,
How dare you?
Like if you read the transcripts of the stuff that he wrote, it's like, well, I can't read that page because it requires me to run non-free software. If somebody could print it out and mail it to me, like that's not my jam. My jam is somewhere more in the center of that whole debate. But it's nice to know that edge exists. But he's a terrible advocate for it.
I want to point something out. So what he would do is, everyone's like, oh, he's so consistent in his views. But this is a perfect example. It's like, well, if somebody else runs the non-free stuff and sends it to me, that's okay. Like I asked him about it was like in Cartelematics and the stuff running on a CAN bus. And he's like, well, that's really private code. So I really don't see it as the same thing. And I'm like, this is complete BS. This is someone who hasn't kept up with where technology has gone. And so you can't even articulate a consistent viewpoint on this, So anyway, so.
Yeah, I'm with you in the importance of having the extremes out there. But you don't want the person, the face of whatever thing you're doing, being a dumpster fire in the middle of the highway.
Right.
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
To me is the big thing. Like, if you're the face of an organization, you don't have to be like the most politically correct and flawless human being on the planet, but you should be better than that.
Yeah, you just can't eat your toes, on stage, and you have to not be completely insane. That's it.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like, Rob, you say gross and weird, but there's plenty of gross and weird out there that are completely tolerable.
Among the luminaries of the open source movement, there's lots of people that could still manage to hold on to a titular presidency of a organization,
right? And not make it so inappropriate for women and for children, and disabled people.
I don't disagree. And it's just it sucks. It sucks. And I mean, what sucks is the thing that surprised me is I read more than one thing in the last week where people were like, I didn't know.
Well,
that he was gross and weird.
I believe that. I mean, a lot of people venerate him before they meet him, right? And so they just think he's this, somewhat genius guy who launched incredible, GNU, whatever, and then they see him and he's like, oh, he's a little weird. But most of these people who are saying that are dudes, right? Because as soon as a woman enters the picture, it gets weird fast, right? So
yeah.
Well, you don't even really have to meet him. All you have to do is go and read his guidelines. If you want to, that's all you need to do.
Oh yeah, well,
yeah. It tells you everything.
AMA days, right?
Yeah, everything you need to know. You just read that.
Yeah.
There are a lot of rules.
Yep. You sure are.
I'm a difficult person, but my demands are not that complicated. So the only other thing that I had on a non-RMS related subject, I shared the link to the TP-82 Cosmonaut Survival Pistol. I'm pretty excited about that because a 9mm pistol is not enough to shoot a Siberian bear. And that apparently is a problem when occasionally your Russian Soyuz capsule lands in the middle of a wasteland inhabited by, let's say, desert cats, sand cats. You need more than a 9mm pistol. And so what you need is the TP-82 Cosmonaut Survival Pistol. It's buttstock, detachable, and usable as a machete.
Oh, nice. That's very thoughtful. Multi-use space tool. Yeah.
But still not particularly effective against a bear. If you're gonna like one.
Didn't they replace it with a shotgun? Because when I talked to this guy, Ed Liu, who was in the space station for 6 months or whatever. And when he returned from space in the Soyuz, he said that there was a shotgun there. Maybe this thing looks like a shotgun, and maybe this is an earlier version before they had the shotgun.
The upper two shotgun barrels, they use 28 gauge ammo, and the lower barrel rifle uses the bullets designed for an AK-74 assault rifle.
Oh wow!
So 7.62 millimeter.
So yeah, according to this, it is 5.45 by 39 millimeters.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I'm not
up to the YouTube channels going on about, and here we got ourselves blah 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 blah. We're going to see if it really stops a bear. So
I would actually really like to see that.
Right.
But they should start with something small, like Area 51 Sandcats.
Oh, they're so cute! Don't shoot the Sandcats.
They're cougars.
You're not gonna. I don't know if you're gonna build internet virality on cat shooting, Rob.
Yeah,
there's just a lot better ways to use cats to get clicks.
You just haven't looked at the darker parts of the internet in a while, my friend.
The intellectual cat murdering dark web.
If that Facebook moderator story taught me anything, is that there's plenty of people shooting cats on the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
That Facebook moderating made me thankful that I stopped having to do that every day a decade ago, because it got so much worse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hate to say it, the more of humanity you have on your website, the more shitty humans you'll have on your website.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very simple. You know,
you reach deeper to the edges of that bell curve.
Yeah.
It's just math.
At some point you get 7 standard deviations of shitty, and that's pretty shitty.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. When you put a billion human beings on a system, it turns out the worst 9 are really bad.
Can you imagine?
So circling back to that drone story for just a second.
Oh, we got
the thing
circling back like a drone. That's good.
Yeah.
Well done.
The thing that really surprised me the most, and I think is the most impressive, is that they said when it happened, it was something close to like 10% of their oil production was going to be done.
It was 50%.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, or 10% of global oil production.
Yeah.
And in 5 days, they had it all up and running back to normal.
Well,
like,
let's be clear about this. So when you're talking about oil, right? So what they attacked was basically a refinery and oil handling location. So they were able to fix the oil handling stuff pretty quickly for just dumping crude into ships. But big parts of that refinery are going to take a very long time to get back online, right?
Oh, sure. That facility is going to be offline for a while. They just have so much ability to shift oil,
right,
and put it in different places that it's like, boom, go ahead. You knock out this huge percentage, and in a few days we can fix it because we got nothing but money and time.
If I had to game this out, what the Saudis are going to do in retaliation to Iran is they're going to dump a couple bombs on their terminals for oil handling, and they'll be out of whack for a while. And that's how you really hurt Iran, right? You make it impossible for them to ship oil, right? So anyway.
I don't know. I always felt like oil production out there is just basically a bunch of spigots, like with sticks deep into the ground, and they just choose how, like when I had to hook the sprinkler up to water the lawn when I was a kid, it's just how far do they want to turn the knob, and then it sprays out at that rate. So if you blow it up, you just go to the sprinkler on the back of the house, and then you just turn that knob a little further. That's what it is, right?
You're not far off, right? This is the great thing about Saudi oil is it's really close to the surface. There's a ton of it. And it has it's called lightweight Brent crude or whatever. It's like olive oil, man. There's no sulfur in it. It's great oil. Okay, Iranian oil is really hard because they have to. It's all in these remote places, and they have to pipe it and get it all over. But Saudi oil, I mean, this is the thing about the Saudis that people don't get. It was really easy to get the oil out of the ground.
It's profitable even at something like $4 a barrel. They have these charts that show where different oil sources become profitable, and Saudi's way on the bottom.
Yeah, like a Russian barrel of oil from the steppes is $50 to $45 a barrel.
Yeah, Canadian oil sands, fracking oil.
Yeah. What about American?
Well, shale? So shale is actually pretty spendy. It's $35 to $40 a barrel. There's some people who think we can get that down in price, but anyway.
They're fracking crazy.
Well, the thing is, we've been fracking wells in the United States since the 50s, so fracking is a technique for cracking open the underground structures with sand, basically. So it's yeah. What people really don't like is when you frack and you screw up the groundwater or cause earthquakes.
Yeah.
I really like their groundwater.
What's that?
I live in a neighborhood or in an area where all people can talk about is PFAS.
Oh,
and I don't know what they are, but I know that it's murder. It's like murder juice.
Yeah, basically PFAS is a chemical used in the creation of Teflon and in like firefighting chemicals for airplanes, right? So if you want to put out a magnesium fire, you use a PFAS-based, thing, right? The problem is PFAS, it's very bad for you, right? And so there's a lot of effluent.
Test the pond in my backyard.
Yeah, it's great for suppressing fires, not so good coating your large intestine.
Yeah, is that where it attacks? And now we're coming full around to an IBS story that Rob mentioned.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so I was looking at some of the startups on Y Combinator and found one that will cure your IBS with a self-hypnosis app that you get on your phone. And
$1 billion business right there.
So, Jake, I'm sorry to tell you, this is actually probably complete BS. So,
yeah, from what I can tell, they've discovered the placebo effect because I'm unsure how auto hypnosis on your phone can help you get rid of your Crohn's disease. But then again, I'm not a gastroenterologist or anything. I was just a biology major, so who knows?
Well, let me ask you something. Is there an attachment for the phone that goes into the rectum of the user?
Some sort of anal
that measures the
It's like Square. It's like Square, except one end is a Bardex enema nozzle.
It hurts to swipe. When they say swipe your card.
Yeah. The worst is the updates. I feel that thing spinning in there, but nothing's happening on my phone.
Right.
27%. Still, it's been 15 minutes.
Update is way bigger.
I've been buffering for 5 minutes now.
The kids call it beach balling. We've got 14 kids beach balling at the school with the new IBS app.
But God, is my guts
are going to drive their Snowden.
Maybe I need to move to some place where I got 4G.
Yeah. So
poor great gastroenterologist.
So yeah, I don't think that thing works. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah. I don't think that works.
Although
there might be a thing though where the rise of environmental toxic chemicals has led to more IBS, more allergies, that kind of thing. I don't know. I'm just speaking out right now. Yeah. I'm just beach balling here, so
I do think an auto hypnosis app to use the placebo effect to remove people's self-diagnosed food allergies would be fantastic.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, it's no joke. Some of these kids, they're super allergic, right?
Totally.
Like whenever I hear the word self-diagnosed and then a condition that really matters, it kind of pisses me off. Like I just want to shake these people and go, you know what? There are kids who really are in a lot of trouble. They carry on an EpiPen for a freaking reason. It's like you self-diagnosing that you're not comfortable with Diet Coke, just, bugs me.
Yeah, I have a family member, extended family member who has a completely made up illness like that. And I'm just like, oh, and this is really awkward.
Yeah, I don't mind. Like my daughter, she's like, I don't like eating milk and milk products. It makes me feel bad. I'm like, great. That's completely legitimate. But she doesn't go around saying, if I see a cow or smell one, I'm going to die. It's like.
Hey, have you guys seen the trailer for Ad Astra?
Is it good?
That movie comes out like tomorrow.
Is the trailer good?
So okay, here's the thing about it. It's some sort of sci-fi future set in the not so distant future, I guess. But the thing that I love about it is that the production design for all of the space stuff it all looks like one step away from legit NASA stuff. Like it looks like 70s era NASA stuff updated for ludicrous science fiction story. But I only want to see it for the production design right now because I don't really care about Brad Pitt, but it looks like I'll probably see it because it's a space movie. But I wasn't sure if people had like any opinions about it. It actually had pretty good Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, I'm like you. I'm going to see it because it's a space movie, right? And I'll save it for the really big screen, right? But like, you know what I loved about Interstellar, and I didn't love Interstellar, but I loved the spaceship. Like, you know, they had like the tiles. I mean, it looked like an updated set of NASA hardware. I thought it was kind of cool. You know?
See, Interstellar looks like NASA plus 100 years. Ad Astra looks like NASA plus like 10 years, but but where we poured infinite money into it. So it's bigger but the same.
Yeah,
like they got a space station in there that obviously is ludicrous for that sort of invention, but it still looks like Skylab times a million.
Yeah.
I want to.
Did you guys read Delta V yet? There's some great.
I started reading Delta V. I'm about maybe 2/3 of the way through it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It is pretty good. I'm enjoying it.
So you're still in the training phase or whatever, yeah?
Yeah.
So. That's all a good book.
Looking up
what else
Delta V Wikipedia.
What's on your list, Rob?
Dude, that is what I got. There's nothing happening.
Wait, no, they told a great story about the game dice.
That's a good chance for us to remind Jake to log into our Discord server.
So
yeah, a truck spilled a bunch of game dice. 200,000 game dice on the interstate.
Like polyhedrals?
Yeah.
Holy crap! How did I miss that?
Right?
This is awesome.
He fumbled on his driving score, and
yeah,
whole thing tipped over, and there you go.
I guess he didn't. I didn't. You know, he rolled 20 to not roll over, and I guess he got a 1.
It made me disable my ad blocker.
What? My goodness!
I know. I'm really
That's an
disappointed.
important story.
750.
Which ad blocker?
There are literally pictures of dudes with shovels of dice, but it looks like they're only D6.
No, you're right. They are D6, not polyhedrals. I didn't see that. Although,
I mean,
it must be
hard to tell.
That's going to be fine, but if you're a barbarian with a two-handed axe, you're in trouble.
But if you're playing Shadowrun, you're fine.
And
well, I mean, it's obvious this was going to like a Warhammer tournament because you have to like have 1 million die 6 for those things.
That's amazing. I'm excited about this.
Right? Isn't it a great story?
Now it's just a matter of time before someone needs to design a spell where the unit of dice is a dump truck of D6s, and you must roll them on the interstate in order to get the full effect.
I like the days when you could order your dice by the pound. That was a good way to get them.
You still can. It's not great dice, but
they were never great.
Dice that you get in all those little D20 sets. I ordered 2 pounds of them for my kid's birthday party and gave everybody a handful of dice.
Well, you guys have seen the dice roller on Google, right? You can type roll 20d20 and it'll do it.
Yep.
Nice.
It's really cool.
Try that right now.
Like here, roll 40d6.
All right, I'm going to ask Google, roll for initiative.
I only got 120.
I don't know if it'll know that.
No, it doesn't know. It did not let me roll for initiative. It probably doesn't know my base modifier, but I do think that you should probably put in a ticket for that.
I can't roll 10,000 d6, so I can't replace my dump truck. That's too bad.
Well, back to the drawing board, I guess.
I'm going to use this thing. Man, I didn't expect to learn something this call.
Well, I know you're used to being ever of information, Nate.
And with that, gentlemen, I'm going to put up the goodbye slide.
That's fine.
Would you like to say your goodbyes while I try to find the very tiny icon on the computer that I can barely reach?
Just thanks for doing this a little early. I'm glad I was able to do it.
Have fun in Europe.
I mean, our streaming audience is probably going to be really ticked off that we changed up the times at last minute. But
sorry, Jake.
We will be, and they is singular.
Sorry, Jake. We'll get back to the regular time next week.
Yeah.
Well, folks,
I'll see you guys later. I had my 4th cup of coffee, so it's time for another spacewalk.
Good luck. Chris, Rob, Nate, thank you so much. This is episode 381 of Geeks in Space. Do your obligatory clicking on buttons that reward our behavior or not. And until next week, roll for initiative.